Who's got something they want to share about that?
I'd have found that better lying down because my breathing wasn't as good sitting up, I found.
Yeah.
When I'm lying down, I can feel I'm breathing better.
Yeah.
And I kept on swaying a bit when I was going relaxed.
Yeah. So they call that Shivasana, isn't it, in yoga, where you, like lying, or the corpse pose, like lying on your back, just as if you're a corpse, basically, which is nice to do, because your sort of abdomen's all stretched out, and you can breathe nice and deeply like that. Danger is falling asleep though, because we're conditioned to, when you lie down, that's when it's time to conk out.
Yeah.
If you can do it whilst lying down without falling asleep,
No, I don't fall asleep.
great. Well, there you go. So that might be the way for you to do it. I really like lying down with one hand on my tummy.
To feel.
Yeah. And also, we're sitting up. Some people, this is not a comfortable way to breathe, sitting up. All to do with your posture, and if you just eaten loads of food or whatnot,
Yeah, it was making me slump. I
Yeah.
was trying to breathe really well, and then I was sort of going a bit down like that, where I want to try and, if I'm sitting up, I want to sit straight.
So I think, again, it's just experiment with what works for you, and if it works, good. If you're falling asleep, because
well, if you've got your head on a yoga mat, it isn't really, really comfy, and I found that was quite good because then you don't your head doesn't go into deep relax.
Yeah, so like a little bit of a discomfort keeps you alert, doesn't it? Yeah.
Also, having your feet elevated, like on a wall or something, and I think your hips slightly raised higher than your chest, it does something about, it helps you breathe deeper, and something about blood circulating as well. I think more blood gets to your lungs and it gives you more lung capacity. Don't know if that's something else, but maybe that helps with breathing. And it's just generally really good for you as well.
I found, probably because of your suggestion about mantra, I started off focusing on the breath, and then I got a bit bored of that and thoughts came, and then I started to inhale and then exhale shanti. It's just nice and simple, and then that went away, and then I'm very stiff in my shoulders and neck at the moment, so that's why I'm trying to lean and relax more. And then I tried breathing into the stiffness and exhale, relax, and all these different things. So yeah, it was not one. It seemed to go on for quite a long time, I have to say. But actually, it was the best I'd done on the breath. It is boring, but I did all those different things.
Well, I think what you were doing is it seems to me trying to find all of these objects of meditation work, and it's a case of finding the one that works for you. So some people focusing on their breathing comes more naturally than focusing on a mantra. That's been my experience, but I know that focusing on a mantra is just as effective as focusing on your breathing.
So I was trying to do both.
Well, you can. So you can.
So inhale.
You can link a mantra to your breath, but the thing is to find one thing that is working for you and to do that, because what you're developing is a one-pointed focused concentration. So that's a good question. Is why would you want to do what we've just done? What's the point? Anyone?
For me, to relax me.
Yeah.
Cultivate mindfulness.
Yeah. So you're cultivate your relaxing, because focusing on one thing
Yeah.
and getting
I've
very
always-
very concentrated on it, the result of that is a relaxation
Yeah.
because of all the craziness that's normally going on. Yeah? And then you're developing the ability to focus, which is like more like with the mindfulness thing. But like, why are these? So they're the two skills you're developing, really. What's like? How does that make your life better?
It'll make my life a lot better if I can do that even once every other day. 'Cause
Yeah.
I've got a very, very busy life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And if
That's
I don't
it.
switch off, I can find it hard to switch off. So if I can do 20 minutes a day, every other day,
Mm-hmm.
that would be good for me.
Yeah. So it's actually giving yourself permission, like I was saying earlier, like for these 20 minutes, the rest of life doesn't exist. I'm just going to go deep into this one thing and get really
What
relaxed.
are you saying? It would be better to do 5 minutes a day rather than 20 minutes every other day?
Every other day is quite regular. I mean, so, 20 minutes every other day versus 10 minutes a day, there's not much in it, I'd say.
Still, it would be a personal thing, wouldn't it? Because for me, if I did 5 minutes, it takes me 5 minutes to kind of settle down.
Mm-hmm.
So it wouldn't actually be getting anywhere.
Yeah, okay, so
Whereas other people would go in quickly, I don't know.
yeah, that's a distinction between this type of meditation and the one we did before. This one, an analogy I like is when you pour a glass of water, to start off with, it's full of little bubbles and stuff, and you set it on the table, and then it just gradually goes clear. And it's a bit like that when you do this, when you sit down to do this kind of practice, it can take 20 minutes or something before you actually really get to that point.
Switch off.
Whereas the meditation we did before is instant. You're just aware right now, just like that. So with that one, so in the Dzogchen tradition, which is more, well, really is the sort of expert tradition on what we were doing before, that panoramic awareness thing, they do lots of short meditations in the day, lots of quickies, whereas this one is more suited to a longer practice. Yeah.
You know, it's funny because I feel really more in my body, and I've just been, I suppose about a year now, but I spent a year doing very intense, the first kind of practice in an ashram, and coming back, I've actually felt so opaque at times and transparent and subtle that, and I haven't, years before that, I did a lot of practices like this breathing one, and it's the first time I've done it in such a long time, and I feel so much more, I don't know, like through my body than sometimes with the first practice. It can leave a sense of feeling a little
Yeah.
a little thin, spread out.
Mhm.
Whereas I've found that just focusing on the breathing for 20 minutes, I was like, wow, something like, maybe it's the way the prana's flowing or something, but I was like, wow, no, my body feels quite, I mean, I feel it.
It's the one you're like concentrating on oxygen actually going into your body.
Yeah. But
Well, this is an embodied experience,
Yeah.
absolutely, and my YouTube channel, website, Facebook page is called Body, Heart, Mind, Spirit, and I do practices in all of those areas. So body stuff, I work out and I do mobility stuff. I eat really healthy. So with the heart stuff, I've been a client of a psychotherapist for more than 10 years and done a lot of psychotherapy work. as a not delivering sessions myself, but as a student, you know, having sessions and going to all sorts of different things to do with that. And then mind. So I'm always learning stuff. I love learning. I love having a mind. You know, I love having a mind. I love having emotions and relationships and feelings. I love having a body. And then spirit being more of that kind of like pushing back and back and back and back. Yeah. I love having a body, but when it's time to die, if I'm really attached to having a body, it's going to be extremely stressful. I'm not saying I know what happens when you die and what happens afterwards, but if you are totally identified with your body, dying is going to be excruciatingly just the worst experience ever. And if you're able to sort of disidentify a bit from your body, I think it can help you get through dying, for example.
I think it's like you touched on it earlier, that some traditions, they focus almost only completely on awareness, and almost a little bit, there's a slight sense of negativity towards the body or emotions or thoughts. It's very subtle, not always, and some of them are more neutral with it, but there can be a little bit of a sense of it being lesser, or to not, a bit he said, not pushing back or not just a having space from, but it being almost slightly negative or something.
Yeah.
You know, I found that in some of the traditions.
Yeah. Dirty, disgusting,
or
the
just,
world, you know,
or just
filthy, sinful, rotten, you know.
Maybe not quite to that extent.
No, but
but there's a subtle sort of.
Yeah.
I got a lovely quote from the Dalai Lama, and he said, "Bodies are a problem, and they don't get any better as you get older."
Yeah. And if your identity is really bound up with your body, as you get older, that's really distressing. You know, if you were an athlete, for example, you know, and your whole identity was that, and then you got, you know, past your prime, then you get the problems with alcoholism and drug abuse, suicide, you know, or models who get old and they just can't bear it, you know. But what you're saying is really, really key, and what I want to stress today is what we're doing here is encouraging what you can call both and thinking, not either or. So what I'm suggesting, and this is, you know, just my opinion, and then you can practice and find out for yourself whether this is true or not. But it's my experience that you can simultaneously be that complete fullness, emptiness, awakeness, and a personality simultaneously. So when you talked about subtle things there, so in the Tibetan tradition they have what's called the three trikaya theory, which is three, but tri is three and kaya is body. So they have three actual bodies that you have. One they call is the gross body, which is gross is not a good word. This is kind of old-fashioned, you know, translation, but they call it the gross realm. Yeah, so it's the realm, meat world. Yeah, and then Sambhogakaya is their word for the subtle realm or subtle body, which is, so when you're dreaming, for example, your physical body, you're not aware of it, it's just in the bed. Yeah, it's gone. And you're in another world, in the dream world, and you have a dream body. And your dream body is different to this body. I mean, have you ever had a dream where you're an animal or someone else, or you don't even have a body, you're just like a fly on the wall type thing? So people had those experiences before. Yeah. I mean, and this is where you know, shamanic, psychedelic practice, all of that, you know, is in this subtle realm. You know, when you're having an experience on DMT or whatever, you know, you're just off into they call it DMT hyperspace. It's just a subtle dream world where your body turns into all sorts of things. So different rules apply in that. And then the third body, this is a simplification there, but I'm just going to go for it anyway, is Dharmakaya, which is the formless body. So the first type of meditation we were doing there is actually being formless. Like it's kind of weird to say a formless body, but it really makes it real. You can actually feel. So this is what your formless body looks like that. This is a common analogy people use, or a mirror. Mirror mind is another one. So whatever, you can put anything inside a mirror, but it doesn't hold the reflection. It just comes and goes. You could put, disgusting scene in front of a mirror, and it doesn't hold it. Your mirror mind, Dharmakaya. And so right now, in the waking states, so in deep dreamless sleep, your gross body is not present. Your subtle body is not present because you're not dreaming anymore. And now this is something I have not had that much personal experience of. I've had a little bit of this at night time. But if you do a lot of meditation practice, you can actually be awake in deep dreamless sleep. And what that's like is you're not thinking. You're just aware, and it's kind of black. That's when you're just in this kind of formless body, according to the traditions. But that's an experience people can have.
Does astral? I'm just going to say astral. Does is that associated with the second or the third?
Second. That's the subtle realm. So a bit like dreaming, going off and doing stuff, but in a sort of imagination world. So all of those three realms are simultaneously present right now. You can feel your body, you can feel the interior subtle world of thoughts and feelings and that kind of stuff, images, and then you've also got that kind of awake awareness, transparent clarity that's there. And they're not mutually exclusive things. They are when you go deep into those states. So in dreaming requires your body, this to be not present in the experience. But right now, all three are online. That was a long answer. I'm sorry about that. Anything else about breathing?
Can I just backtrack slightly to what you were saying about being in the body? I've found it quite helpful in the past to do a body scan before I do sort of mindfulness for breathing, so that you're actually in your body before you actually start the meditation properly. And another thing I found useful to sort of is counting the breaths, and then if you get distracted on sort of breath number 5, you go back to 1 again, and that helps to sort of keep your attention. So if you count to 10, then you start at 1 again, and carry on like that. That's what I've done in the past, and I find playing that sort of game makes it a little bit more interesting in a way.
Yeah, so they're just different techniques, a bit like what Jane was saying, that with the mantras and breathing.
Sure.
So then counting is also another method. And the body scan, there's Vipassana tradition of meditation. They do. There's a lot of retreats. It's the kind of most common place to do retreats in England, and a lot of that is in the tradition of this guy called Goenka, who was an Indian guy, lived in Burma. Was he? No, yeah, he is. Yeah. Well, I mean, he lived in India. So I won't go into it. He's a really interesting guy. But so if you go on one of those retreats, you do body scans as part of that, going around the body.
Okay.
But again, it's focusing your attention on a really narrow task. Which gives you the ability to concentrate on stuff. It's like, the opposite of this would be ADHD, it's totally unable to concentrate, just all over the place. And this would be something really beneficial for someone who has a tendency to just be, just not focused at all. This would be a great thing for someone like that to do.
Or just absorbed in the modern world.
Well, they're bringing it in
stimuli
into schools.
Yeah.
This type of practice is the one that they're tending to do. And just going back to why this is a good thing to learn how to do in your life, there have been times where I've been having like a panic attack, basically. Just something has just stressed me out so much, I just can't stop catastrophizing about it. I'm feeling really panicky. I know that what I'm doing is just freewheeling on this kind of little wheel of pain, and because of doing this practice, I can just focus on my breathing, and I'm just completely bypassing my thought, my mind, and my feelings, and I'm just going right into my body. And inside your body, there's no thoughts in there, or emotions and stuff. It's just a world of sensation, and it can really pull. If you can do it, it can really pull you out of some agonising situations. I'm talking about situations that are not bad, not good ones to be in. I went skydiving a few times, and the first time I went up in the plane, I was shitting myself, and it was all because of what I was thinking. My mind was just going crazy. I was just thinking of all the things that could go wrong, and the plane was going like this, and it felt really flimsy. And so I just said, right, okay, forget all of this thinking, and I just went right down. I was just breathing, and all I did was I focused on my breathing, and the whole way, all the going right up, opening the doorway, hanging out the window, all that, just focusing. I was not concentrating on my thinking at all. I was letting my thoughts just do what they're doing, but I was just anchoring my attention on my breathing, and that's what. And it was, it was terrifying, but eventually I really learned to enjoy it, and I was somersaulting out of the airplane and all that stuff. But to get me through that first bit, I was really glad to have had this practice.
It can be a great meditation lesson. Go skydiving.
Yeah, well,
Breathe.
yeah, you want to put this stuff to the test too. That's you learn this stuff on the meditation cushion, so that when you're in situations in life, you've got that as a resource to call on. So, say you might be having an argument with someone, and really getting hot under the collar, and it's all going to get out of hand or something, and you don't want that to happen because you know it's not a good thing. In this particular example, and if you can just take a moment to just let all of that go right down, just breathe, go right into your body, and then come back out from that and then start again, it can really change things.
It's really interesting. I actually did 2 parachute jumps, and they were static mines, so it wasn't skydiving. And I can slow my thoughts by by slowing my breath, but it wasn't meditating, as you're saying, because if you think about it, if you breathe up here and you breathe rapidly, you're going into panic, anxiety. If you breathe deeply and slowly, your whole body starts to slow down, including your thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I'm just wondering that maybe I meditate more than I think I do. Without realising, you know.
Well, it's really common speech to say, take a deep breath.
Yeah, it's,
You know.
it's there.
Yeah.
For all of us, and so linked with how we are, whether we're calm or whether we're anxious, because you know we slide along that, don't we?
Yeah. So
You know?
with these coming back to these three bodies, they're all separate and unique, but they're all connected too. So if you do tamper with your physical body, it's going to affect your subtle body. Yeah. So if you're breathing fast and shallow, if you could do it on purpose, I mean, you can, go like that. Eventually, you're going to start. Your thoughts are going to correspondingly go, the way they do when you do that. Whereas if you slow your breathing down, go right down deep, then you'll feel it. Your emotions and your thoughts are going to follow suit.
It's containing that fight or flight because you're so frightened, but you are actually up in the aircraft and you are going to jump out of it. But you could say, oh, I'm not doing it. You know, fight or flight response.
Right. That's made me think of something important. That this is not about numbing all the pain in your life. So sometimes it's a good thing to numb the pain. So say if you use a skydiving example,
Like a coping mechanism.
going up in a plane,
Yeah.
it's no good for me to be ruminating about all the things that could go wrong. I've gone with a professional company, they've done it thousands of times, there's all these other people on there, they all want to get out the window because they love it. So that's an example where it's no good for me to be going down the crazy thinking route. But there are other times where you really need to face the pain. And that's more to do with other types of meditation practice we'll be coming on to. And also the first type of meditation practice we did is not about avoiding anything in your life. So you're as aware of a migraine as you are drinking a nice cup of hot chocolate.
I just become aware in that second meditation what you said about the baby, pulling the baby back.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I can get really frustrated and forcefully bring the baby back. I just become aware of myself, just trying to do it more kinder and more loving.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Rather than give myself a hard time and just batter the shit out of myself. Pardon my French.
Yeah.
It's just like
I said shit first, so you're safe.
It's ever-evolving learning though as well, isn't it? I generally do this stuff because I want a deeper understanding of who I am,
Mm-hmm.
so that I don't act horribly to people, and I don't act like I always have done, or like my dad has done, and do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So yeah, you're developing the ability to notice when you're going off on one, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then you said about the dreaming and stuff as well. That's a perfectly natural state of it's perfectly natural to dream, isn't it? It's like, I don't know, I had quite a mad experience for 20 years in my life, which numbed the healthy dreaming aspect of my life, because it's healthy to dream because you hear when you're asleep.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just trying to return to that spot every time and get out of this bloody mind. But as what you're saying about embodying the actual stuff through healthy diet, physical exercise, it's balancing it all out so you can remain in that clarity, which I'm slowly working at doing. Try not to be so bloody perfect That's the trouble.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, from the perspective of awareness, you are perfect. It's like the ultimate radical self-acceptance.
There's a book.
I think there is something called radical self-acceptance. But so if from your own perspective as formless awareness, I amness, you are absolutely perfect as you are right now. There's nothing you need to do.
That moment, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's an enormous gift to give yourself as a personality, to be able to see yourself that way and see other people that way, see life that way, and so I don't get frustrated now when I'm breathing and my mind wanders off and I have to bring it back. I actually don't. It's not frustrating for me now because I've done it so many times and I know the whole process. And I also know that part of myself which is okay with it. And I'm not, but when I first started doing it, I did used to get very frustrated. But that was, no one had taught me about this, the first type of meditation we did. No one had shown me that part of myself that was just totally chilled out with anything.
Fine line of suppressing things. I can kind of use this to suppress sometimes, so I can actually really remain calm. And really, I just want to roar.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But it's trying to balance that out as well with taking healthy sort of maybe punching a punch bag.
Yeah.
Actually expressing my truth to someone.
Yeah.
Because it's frightening stuff, isn't it? To actually be 100% authentic and truthful at all times. And we're not taught how to do that in this world. And as you get healthier and as you mature and grow, I suppose it just becomes easier, second nature.
Well, this is learning how to relax, basically, and a lot of people never learn how to relax. They're just this is if you got on and off, this is off time, and then a lot of people they're just on all the time, ding 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 ding, and they never learn that ability to switch off. And of course, life is not about having the switch always off or always on. It's like if the light switch, sometimes you want the room on, the lights on, and sometimes you want them off. And you want to have the freedom to be able to do that when you want to.
One thing I've been doing a bit more effort into just try and simply relax. And whether it's lay on the grass or just sit in the forest, just learning new things to relax. I'm half relaxed at the moment.
I listened to an interview recently between a guy called Sam Harris and Stephen Fry. And they were talking about meditation, and Stephen Fry was just starting to practice meditation and stuff, and he was talking about his experience of it. And he's a very passionate guy, and he was saying, I don't want to be like a cow in the fields. They're sort of like, and this is what he was saying. It's not how I feel about cows, but he was saying they just do the same thing all the time, and they're happy with their lives, just living in a field, eating grass. And he was like, I don't want to be like that. So he was thinking that meditation kind of turns people into cows, that they're just happy, sort of doing nothing, and being really calm. And he wants to, love people and hate people and have this creative angst and all these interesting mad being an artist and all of that stuff. And
mind you, he is bipolar.
yeah. He's and one of the reasons why he got interested in meditation is because of depression and that sort of thing. And I'm not suggesting that you should basically tranquilise your entire life with this kind of practice that we just done. In fact, some people with extremely traumatic lives, that might be appropriate for a short period of their lives. But my own personal practice is, I love being a crazy a creative person. You know, I've got a very rich and busy life, and I love it. Yeah, so that's not. They're not. Being a rich, creative, explosive person is not mutually exclusive to waking up to that formless awakeness that's uncontracted in any moment. And in fact, what's called Tantric Buddhism or Vajrayana Buddhism is all about maintaining your open, expansive, awake awareness during activities like sex, music making, eating, getting drunk, you know, all the things, the energetic things you do in life. It's about the two happening at the same time.
So does meditation enhance the rest of that creativity by, obviously you're saying, learning to relax, and perhaps more patient with yourself in that time?
So I think how it relates to creativity, this type of breathing practice we're doing, have you ever had the experience of working on something and you get to a point where it's just not happening right? And then you say, okay, I'm just going to leave that, I'm going to go and have a cup of tea, maybe go for a little walk, and then you come back to it, and then all of a sudden you know how to do it? Yeah, has everyone had that experience?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So this is a bit like doing that.
Creating a space for it now, I suppose. Or giving yourself space to
Well,
chill out and get on with it at a gentler level.
I think this giving yourself space might be more the first type of meditation we did. This one, yeah, because that is all about space. So, and I'll come to that in a minute. But if you're to come up with creative solutions for life, to just press the off switch for a bit of time really helps. And I can't explain why it is that way, because it seems counterintuitive, but it is.
No, it's like sleeping or not sleeping.
It's like
If you
sleep.
don't
There we go.
For a week,
Yeah.
you're going to be like crazy.
You're not going to be in your most creative if you
If
haven't
you-
slept for 3 days.
If
Yeah.
you slept every day, then maybe even if you had a nap in the middle of the day as well, like you would think.
Yeah. But the way this relates to creativity is all of a sudden you're not contracted, right? So if you think, let's take, something makes me anxious is dancing. Yeah, I've never been a great dancer, never spent the time to get good at it and all that kind of thing. And when I met my wife, Dizzy, part of our courting was we went to these 5 rhythms dancing sessions. Does anyone know what 5 rhythms are? Yeah. Where you do basically whatever the hell you like in a group of people with dancing. Yeah. And, I was really anxious going into that. I thought, oh my God, we've only just met and this is like literally the worst thing for me. But because of years of meditation practice and waking up to this part of myself, I was able to go into these sessions still being afraid, still feeling really awkward and gangly and, but because I know this part of myself, I'm not fazed by that at all. So my creativity in that moment was unlocked because I wasn't contracted around my personality, my feelings of shame about, looking like an idiot, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, that was still happening, but because I knew this part of myself as well, it was okay. And then I was able to be really creative. And eventually, I started off really small, and then eventually I was running all around the room, somersaulting and cartwheeling, and I really unlocked my creativity in that moment. But if I'd been exclusively identified with my personality, would never have got to that point. So that's how this first waking up to formlessness unlocks your creativity in that sense, because there's no contraction around it. So for me, doing this session, this is a creative act for me, and it's a little bit, I'm a little bit afraid of doing this, honestly. But at the same time, there's a part of me that's just totally okay with it. So they're both happening at the same time. So.